Taven Jackson is going to be back in Bloomington, and Indiana could not have drawn a more interesting week one quarterback to play. So this episode of the Big Ten Huddle presented by FanDuel, we're talking about North Texas and their new starting quarterback, Taven Jackson, who will be visiting Memorial Stadium to try and defeat the defending national champions. Indiana is favored by 40.5 for a reason in this game, but this is exactly the kind of opener that can get weird for a while because the quarterback on the other sideline is not just some random veteran transfer. Taven Jackson spent 2 years at Indiana. He spent one of those inside Cignett's program. He practiced he practiced against Bryant Haynes' defense. He knows the building, he knows the environment, he knows the culture, and he has been named North Texas' starting quarterback for Indiana's season opener on September 5th. So the real question is not whether North Texas is better than Indiana. Spoiler alert, they're not. They're going to lose this game. The question is whether former Hoosier quarterback returning home with an inside familiarity and nothing to lose can make Indiana's first game as the defending national champions a little maybe uncomfortable in some ways, even though it's a 40.5 point spread, which we all know Indiana, like I said, is going to win this game. And history says that might actually, be exactly what happens, because here's what has come up. As I said, North Texas has officially named Taven Jackson its starting quarterback after a competition that included Chaston Ditta, Chris Jimerson, and then there's a freshman, Zeandre Williams, I think is his name. Jackson is now at his fourth college stop, Tennessee, and then Indiana, and then UCF last year, and now North Texas this year. And the version coming back to Bloomington is not the same version that left. He has more experience now. Last season at UCF, Jackson started 10 games, completed 63.5% of his passes, and threw for over 2,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Across his career, he's played in 27 games and started 16 of them. Indiana fans already know there is some, ability there from what they saw when Curtis Rourke was injured in 2024, because Taven Jackson started against Washington and Indiana still won that game. He only threw for 124 yards, but he rushed for a touchdown and managed the game well, doing what needed to be done to win that one. And then earlier that season against Nebraska, he came off the bench and went 7 of 8 for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. So listen, this is not some superstar quarterback walking back to Bloomington or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But it's also not a guy who should be overwhelmed simply because the Fox cameras are turned on. He's from Greenwood, Indiana. He played at Center Grove, won back-to-back undefeated state championships there. This is home. His half-brother played here, Trace Jackson Davis, and I think that matters more than people realize for him to be comfortable here. Because here's the first thing I would be asking if I were Kirk Cignetti. How much does Taven Jackson remember? And how much are we still doing the same? Maybe not like signs or like goofy conspiracy theories about a secret playbook or anything, but I mean like tendencies and things like that. You see, Jackson spent the 2024 season practicing against Bryant Haynes' defense. He saw how Indiana disguised pressure. He saw how the secondary communicated. He saw how Cignetti structured game weeks. Obviously, Indiana has changed personnel. This is 2026, not 2024. But when Neil Brown is in the building week one, that's the North Texas head coach, for the to go up against the defending national champions, they're having a veteran quarterback who can say, here's what used to bother us in practice. Here's what this normally looks like, what it usually looks like in this scenario. And that does not close a 40-point talent gap by any means, but it can help North Texas to survive the first quarter a little bit. And that is where the FanDuel number becomes really interesting. Indiana, like I said, is favored by 40.5. My early lean is North Texas actually plus 40.5. Not because I think Indiana's in danger or not good or anything like that, but because of the history, because Kirk Cignetti has shown us that his early season games can look very different from Indiana at full speed after, to later in the year after they've gotten comfortable. Go back to his first opener at Indiana in 2024. The Hoosiers beat Florida International 31-7. Indiana outgained them 414-182 and controlled the game thoroughly, but they did not come close to covering a 40.5 point spread. spread. Then last season's opener against Old Dominion, where Indiana won 27-14. The offense was still working through things. There was some red zone mistakes, a drop potential touchdown, an overthrow on another, and they settled in for a field goal that kind of didn't make the score as high as you might think. And afterwards, Cignetti said that they had a lot to learn and needed to get better. That is the part of his philosophy with some of these early games. Cignetti does not seem to look at these early games and say, how fast can we get to 42 points and empty the bench? He treats them like a live practice with consequences. We saw that clearly one week after Old Dominion against Kennesaw State. Indiana was winning comfortably, but Cignetti kept the starters in well into the fourth quarter. And you might ask, well, why are you doing that? Well, you don't want to get your guys injured. Well, because in his words, they needed to play football. Indiana has jumped ahead, then stumbled and bumbled around the second quarter. Cignetti wanted one play at a time football, regardless of the score. He was building not just a team, not just a plan, but building habits. And this is where people misunderstand what keeping starters in can mean. Normally you hear starters are still in and think, oh, they're trying to run up the score. And Indiana did get what's the word for this? They did say that about them last year. But with Cignetti early in the season, it can mean the opposite. The starters are still in because he does not think they are clean enough yet. He wants another 3rd and 5, another long drive, another chance for a new quarterback and new receivers to get the timing right. That can eat clock. And it creates a 31-7 type of opener instead of a 56-3 type of opener. And that matters this year because Indiana is once again integrating major transfer pieces. The defending national champions are replacing their Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza with Josh Hoover. They're adding a Nick Marsh instead of Elijah Surratt from last season. This offense needs real game chemistry in order to work together. Turbo Richard is going to be in the backfield as well. I mean, they need real game chemistry together. This is where Cignetti's Nick Saban influence shows up to me. The goal is not to win the first quarter by 28. The goal is to break you over 4 quarters, run the offense correctly, play physically, make you defend the fundamentals over and over, and wear you down. That style is terrifying once Indiana is actually polished. But in week 1, they're still doing some polishing and figuring out while the new pieces are getting comfortable together. It can create stretches where the scoreboard does not move as quickly as the talent gap says that it should. And now you add in Taven Jackson to the other side. North Texas is not bringing back last year's exact operation where the Mean Green went 12-2 last season, but Eric Morris, forgetting the name of that North Texas quarterback, Mestemaker, and Neil Brown is taking over. So this is a transition game for both programs in very different ways. Indiana is transitioning from national championship back to contender mode. North Texas is transitioning into a new staff. And the new guy and the guy at North Texas who may be uniquely comfortable with what he is walking into in the stadium, Memorial Stadium, wearing the other team's uniform might just be Taven Jackson. Now, let me make one thing clear before Indiana fans are, getting all upset at me and talking about, things in the comments that I didn't say. Not that the Indiana fans don't do that. Indiana fans don't do that. But if Indiana plays even just a B-plus game, Indiana should win this one comfortably. If Indiana plays an A game, North Texas probably cannot hang around for even more than 2 quarters. Indiana went 16-0 last year, beat Miami in the national championship. Cignetti has earned every ounce of respect he is getting, but there's different pressure now. 2 years ago, Indiana was the hunter. Last year, people wanted to know whether the first season was a fluke or not. Now, they're the defending national champions. Every Saturday is going to be measured against what Fernando Mendoza and that squad did, who got to 16-0, and what they looked like at their peak. So imagine halftime, right? Which isn't necessarily fair. I'm not personally going to be doing that, but the national media is. If Indiana leads only 17-7 or maybe like 20-10 at halftime, they are never truly in danger, but Josh Hoover, if he's missed a couple throws, North Texas has put together one good drive, Taven Jackson, maybe he gets a long run like Colton Joseph did last year. People are going to be saying, well, what's wrong with Indiana? What's going on with them? Are they all of a sudden bad? And that's the trap that people are going to fall into. The answer might be nothing at all. It might just be September. It might just be Cignetti getting these guys to to work and play real football. And if Cignetti's history repeats itself, Indiana may spend 4 quarters trying to become the team it needs to be in November instead of spending 4 quarters trying to beat a betting number. That's why North Texas plus 40.5 is the side that I like right now. Not because Taven Jackson's coming back for revenge and he's going to shock the world and do all this stuff to Bryant Haynes of the defense, but because his experience, his familiarity, and most importantly, this is the biggest thing, is because of Cignetti's early season philosophy. All point toward the same thing. Indiana, just win, get the valuable reps, and North Texas stays inside a gigantic number. That is what makes Taven Jackson be named the starter, more than just kind of like a cute former team storyline. The defending national champions are opening against a quarterback who knows their building, who knows their head coach, who knows pieces of their defensive DNA, and has waited 2 years to come back with the ball in his hands. Indiana, they're going to win this game. Nobody's saying that they aren't going to or anything, but just be aware. If it's, like I said, if it's 17-7, if it's 20-10 for a few quarters, it might seem a little uncomfortable. The national media will surely try to say a few things about Indiana, but don't let them get to you. Don't let them get to you. Know that Cignetti working this out. He knows what he's doing, and this is all a philosophy that he's been doing for a long time now. So thanks for joining us here on the Big Ten Huddle. Like the video, subscribe for more Big Ten football analysis, and there's like a hype button down there too. If you could hit the hype button, I have no idea what it does, but might help. So if you could do that too, we'd appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time.